call this regular board meeting to order. The date is June 24th, 2025, and the time is 6:01. Adrian, can you take us to the first item?
Item 1B, Pledge of Allegiance.
Do I have a teacher of the year? Lead us secondary. You can lead us from there.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Take us to the next item.
Item 1B, roll call. Ms. Barnes?
Present.
Ms. Borrego?
Present.
Ms. Maldonado?
Present.
Mr. Martinez? Present. Mrs. Ortega?
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Present.
And Ms. Zuniga did call ahead to mention she will be able to make it to tonight's meeting. Item 1E, CISD vision and mission statements.
And if Ms. Maldonado could lead us into vision and Ms. Borrego into the mission.
The mission: we provide equitable opportunities to ensure future-ready students are empowered to explore, learn, grow, and excel.
Vision. Lead today, impact tomorrow.
That will take us to the next item, please.
Item number 2, open forum. Any person wishing to address the board during the period reserved for public comment at a board meeting must sign up to be heard in accordance with District Policy BEE Local. Each participant will be limited to 3 minutes to make comments to the board. The board is not permitted to discuss or act over any issues that are not posted on the agenda for tonight's meeting. For further information on these policies, contact the Superintendent's Administrative Assistant. And Mr. President, we do have 3 community members that signed up for tonight. The first one is going to be Mr. Zach Oliva regarding to health insurance with Aetna.
Thank you. Can you please let me know when my time starts?
Yes, sir. As soon as you start.
Good evening. My name is Isaac Oliva, and as you know, I am our district's 2025 to 26 Teacher of the Year. I love my jobs and I love my kids, and you can see the work and love I put into my job from everything that I do for my school. I want you to know that I did it with a hurt hip that has caused me severe pain all year, in which I was hoping to have surgical relief this summer. Blue Cross Blue Shield was fantastic and took care of me, but after the move to Aetna, my health needs have become a nightmare. Last year, when we were trying to figure out what was going on with my hip, I told my doctor that we were moving to Aetna. He felt sorry for me as he said, "You are going to have Aetna now? You're moving to the Hyundai of insurance. They are going to deny everything." Little did I know that my nightmare was about to unfold. 3 months of physical therapy and injections did not improve my outcome. My request for surgery was denied based on Aetna's determination that my surgery was medically unnecessary. My doctor submitted a second appeal and was also denied on June 20th upon the same finding. It was medically unnecessary. The pain I have had for a year isn't medically important in the eyes of Aetna. Aetna suggested filing a third appeal. To what outcome? They have already ruined my chance to recover over the summer. I also have a medical pump that serves as both a gift and a curse in my life. A curse in which I am bound to it for the rest of my life, but a gift that allows me to get up out of bed every single morning. When switching to Aetna, I found my medical pump's medication supplier was not in network. I attempted to be proactive and contact Aetna in October to figure out who was in network. They refused to help me until I was under their insurance. I contacted Ms. Uranga in October last year, in which she tried to help me, but nothing came out of it. I spent over 6 hours in the month of January over the phone, trying to find out where I can get my medication for my pump. Not only did they claim they had no information on figuring out who was in network, they refused to help me, instead claiming only the doctor could find out. I relayed all the information to my doctor and put my trust in them, that they would figure it out. I received a claim notice that the medicine was ordered out of network, and Aetna said I would be responsible for the bill of $6,000. I have been on this medication since I was 17 years old, in which a lapse will kill me. I do not have the opportunity to deny medication that I have become dependent on for 16 years of my life. Despite my severe disability, I have proven with a few health supports that I can make a difference in the Canopio community. My focus should be on building towards the new school year, not worrying if my medical ailments are worthy in Edna's eyes. I am hopeful that the district can help me and use the new money from House Bill 2 to improve our insurance and return to Blue Cross Blue Shield and end my nightmare with Aetna. Thank you.
I'll take this to next.
Next participant will be Ms. Ana Garcia in regards to the speech language pathologist salary.
Good evening. I'd like to take a moment to recognize a group of professionals who often are overlooked, yet absolutely vital to our children's growth and success, our speech language pathologists. My name is Ana Garcia. I'm one of the 7 bilingual speech language pathologists and 1 bilingual speech language pathologist assistants. I have been in the Canopio ISD for 3 years. I have been a speech language pathologist for 12 years. I'm currently placed at Reyes Elementary and Middle Children's Elementary. There are currently over 773 students who receive special education services, and our speech language pathologists serve over 414. When we break down our numbers per speech language pathologist, we see about 45 to 60 students a week depending on school needs. As I mentioned earlier, I serve our special education students in 2 schools. Because of the need and the demand, most of us serve 2 to 3 schools a week. I participated in our first assistive technology summer program where students with limited verbal communication had the opportunity to use and become more proficient with their speech-generated device. Students participated in 5 stations: science, games, sensory, cooking, literacy, and crafts. From the beginning to the end, our students were more proficient to saying something basic such as good morning and goodbye, labeling ocean animals, coloring, counting, labeling snacks. We look forward for growing this program to be able to provide more support beyond the school year. What does a speech language pathologist do? We don't just help pronounce words. They help the children find their voice. We can work on correcting someone's pronunciation that may impact their reading skills to vocabulary, which impacts their reading comprehension, following directions, which impacts in attending and classroom teachers' directions. We serve students with medical diagnoses such as Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, autism, attention deficit disorder, and other medical diagnoses. Some students are nonverbal and require a speech-generated device. We teach them a language system. We teach them a voice. We simplify the words of therapy to teach. We all understand that what we do is we teach a skill that we can support the students academically and socially. If we were considered classroom teachers, we would have about 45 to 60 students in one classroom depending on the school. We provide small group therapy sessions to be able to get progress. I'm happy to say that we have wonderful speech language pathologists and we graduate close to 5 students per year. However, our number does not decrease. Our numbers increase because there is a high demand. In summary, these are the benefits of speech language pathologists. We're highly specialized expertise, prevent academic delays, support social development, boost cognitive skills, improve behavior outcomes, treat a wide range of disorders, empowers families, and most importantly, empowers our students. Canopio ISD should consider that our speech language pathologists are not just looking for competitive salaries from the east of us. However, we also consider our west. I would like for you to consider us with the HB2 bill.
Thank you.
Next participant is Ms. Pamela Perez in regards to the speech pathology services.
Good evening. My name is Pam Perez and I'm your lead speech language pathologist. And I got the memo for the yellow, so somehow. I've been with Canopio ISD for almost 10 years. As Ms. Ana mentioned, our district employs 8 bilingual speech language pathologists, but we also have 2 occupational therapists and 1 physical therapist. There are currently over 773 students who receive special education services, of which 414 of those students receive speech therapy services. What does a speech pathologist do? Many people in this room may have received speech therapy services at some point in their lives, or have a family member who has received therapy.
Often, we are told that we correct someone's pronunciation of a word to help them to speak clearly. Yes, we do that. We do provide articulation therapy, but we also do much more. We help students who stutter. We provide receptive, expressive, and social language therapy for students who are having difficulty communicating in schools and understanding directions. We give students a voice through the use of assistive technology. In fact, as Ms. Garcia pointed out, we just finished our first assistive technology program where students who are limited verbal communicators had the opportunity to use and become more proficient with their devices. We look forward to growing this program. We provide assistance to families to help them to understand their child's disability, along with giving them resources of what they can do at home to help their child. And we collaborate with teachers to help their students with communication needs in the classroom. Our successes come from having students move from a more restrictive environment, such as a special education classroom, to a general ed classroom, to finding jobs such as through Project Search. And the ultimate success is no longer needing therapy services. Conatillo ISD considers therapy staff under the administration umbrella. While this may be the budgeted designation for the therapist, I want you to understand that these jobs are not only administrative, but direct service providers. Your therapy staff provide over 25 hours of direct therapy a week. As I reviewed the HB2 compensation plan, I was disappointed to learn that therapy staff will not be included in this package. While I understand that the legislature only allocated specific funding for teachers, there is some leeway for a district to also increase salaries of other staff. Tonight, I am advocating for the district's therapists to be included in the salary increases that will be discussed this evening. I commend everyone involved in putting together tonight's proposed balanced budget. I also thank Ms. Moreno for her leadership and moving the special education program forward. She will be missed. I also welcome our new special ed director, Mrs. Mena. She will continue to make Conatillo a shining star in our region. I invite all of you to come to any school and talk with your speech language pathologist. Thank you.
Next item is item number 3, Board of Trustees business.
But, Board, before we go, I know I meant if possible, we go in executive first. That those 2 items come out and deal with the rest of the board. That's okay.
If the board's in agreement, we can do that.
I'm good.
Okay. Then what do you send us into executive session?
Item number 6, executive session. To consult with attorney under sections 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074 of the Texas Government Code. A certified agenda or recording of a closed meeting is confidential and is not available to the public except by court order. A person who is knowingly and without lawful authority makes a certified agenda or recording public commits a Class B misdemeanor. Any exceptions will be communicated in accordance with applicable policies and regulations. Time is 6:15 p.m. Item 6A, discussion regarding administration's recommendation for Garcia Elementary School principal. 6B, discussion regarding lease agreement with EPCC. Business. 7A, discussion and possible action regarding administration's recommendation for Garcia Elementary School principal. Presenter is Martha Carrasco.
Is there a motion?
I so move.
Can you add it into the motion?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Administration's recommendation.
I so move to approve Janet Plaza as the new principal at Garcia Elementary.
I second.
Is there any discussion? Adrian, will you pull one?
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Moreno?
Yes.
Ms. Maldonado?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortega?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
All in favor, motion passes.
I will take this to the next item.
Item 7B, discussion on possible action regarding lease agreement with EPCC. Presenter, Mr. Bolivar.
At this time, there is no action needed. I'll take this to the next item.
That would be item number 3, Board of Trustees business. Item 3A, healthcare update presentation by Ms. Natalie Vasquez from Gallagher.
Good evening, Board President, trustees, and Dr. Galvez. I have here today, his name is Natalie representative from Gallagher, who is our consultant for our healthcare. And she will be giving us an update on how our plan is doing. Remember that we started with Aetna in January, and so it's an update as to how the plan has been working for the last few months.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I wanted to quickly just start off with a quick recap of when we were here around this time last year. We had come with an original plan cost estimate with Blue Cross if we would remain kind of status quo. We were looking at a $12.2 million health plan budget. The recommendation after a move to Aetna with an ACO component would potentially reduce that by approximately $2 million. At that time, we also recommended increasing the defined contribution from $623 to $733 to kind of right-size the historical underfunding of the plan. At that time, we made the decision to increase the employees' contribution and keep the district contribution the same. And so, where we are right now is kind of an executive summary of historical looking forward. We did have a significant decrease, about 200 employees from 24 to 25 actually left the health plan for various reasons. We also saw a shift from the basic plan offering, which is the more PPO type of style where it's co-pay driven, to that consumer driven health plan. So far this year, out of the 4 months of claims history and funding that we have, although we only have data for people at this point, 2 of those 4 months we have been under budget, including some of those run-out claims from Blue Cross. So that's fantastic news. Your claims split, it looks like we're about 70% of our claims are coming from medical. The other 30 is from pharmacy. We are looking at about a 15% projected increase for 2026. To put that in a number, it's about $804,000. We did see a planned cost savings from 24 of about $4 million. That has to do with the combination of your shift of headcount plus the move to Aetna with that ACO component and kind of moving some of those rates around. We are getting close to kind of closing that gap toward a balanced budget, which is fantastic news. I sit in many of these forums, and that is not the story that we have to tell most of the time. I think the committee did a great job evaluating the RFP, the contractual terms, and making those recommendations for 2025. I won't spend a ton of time on this next slide. It just kind of shows us where we have ended with Blue Cross in 2024 and where we are projected to go for 2025. Again, we only have data through April, but I want to kind of draw your eye to that second to the last line, that total plan cost. If you kind of take the way the 2024 plan performed, we were running at about $725,000 a month. If we look at our current and trend that forward, we're about $459,000 a month. So a significant decrease in our claims spend right now. From a medical utilization, this is just kind of a quick look at your headcount for 24 versus 25. As I mentioned, we had about 200 employees fall off the plan. With that go their dependents. And you can also see that shift from the basic plan to the consumer driven. One thing I had already mentioned, out of the 4 months of data we have from Aetna, we are, 2 of those months, we were what we call under budget, under 100%. What that is essentially we've collected more from the district and the employee funds versus the claims that we paid out. Those will ebb and flow throughout the year, and then the ultimate goal is to land right on budget. And just looking at where we are as far as some of our large claimants, as we know, about 30% of our population, really drives the claim spend. And so in 2024, there were 24 large claimants. Those totaled about $4.4 million in claims. So that's a lot of dollars for so few claimants. So it's over 50% of our gross claims. 14 of those claimants hit what we call an individual specific deductible, whereas that is our reinsurance, where the district actually gets those dollars back. So we were actually reimbursed $1.8 million. So far in 25, we're tracking through 3 large claimants, and they're totaling together a little under $350,000. So we'll continue to watch those. I think the next few slides are most important as the message we're trying to deliver and the action item that we're going to be asking for after this. As I mentioned, last year, the district decided to keep that defined contribution at $623. We have done, we try to make our best actuarial projection on what we think will happen. We take things into consideration like medical and pharmacy trend. We put placeholders for contractual changes such as stop loss increases. Some may or may not happen. We also have to anticipate kind of worst case scenario, but we also want to draw on the historical knowledge, your experience with the claims, and what's actually happening. So we are estimating a 15% increase for 2026. As I mentioned, that's about $815,000 based, depending on where you look. We are asking to increase that 623 to 723, and on the next slide, you can see if we were to keep the. And let me take a step back. We're here to talk today about the district contribution. We'll come back in August to talk about what may or may not happen with the employee contribution. So say we keep the contribution, the defined contribution status quo at 623. We can, if we keep the employee rates the same, we can kind of see on that right-hand side what that would do to the district contribution. It changes by tier. And so what we want to try to do is find that 15% on the next slide, moving that defined contribution to a flat 723 all the way down the line. We can see what it potentially could do to the employee rates, but like I said, we need a little bit more time in this year to continue to watch and monitor those claims, and we'll come back in August with our recommendation.
Any questions?
I have a question. So on your, the slide prior to this one, can you go back and do this? So right now for the basic employee, they're paying $228.64?
Yes, ma'am.
Every 2 months, twice a month, correct, or once a month?
Once a month? Yes, those are monthly rates.
And the district is at $623.
Yes, ma'am.
And the renewal plan year status, it kind of is the same except for the employer increase. Correct? Same line item.
Yes.
Same line. Okay. And so with the CDHP, which is more like a savings,
It's where the employee expends the first dollar of care until they reach their deductible of $3,500. So essentially, you don't have a copay when you go to your doctor. You're paying the full cost of the visit after the discounted rate.
how many, okay. So we have 231 in that plan
Yes, ma'am.
versus the 123 of the basic?
Yes.
And so you don't know if there's going to be an increase yet until August, you said? For the employee?
Correct, we need a little bit more claims history to really follow the projections through to see what we think, if we think it will change significantly from where we have it earmarked today.
So I'm a little concerned with the gentleman's, comments. As far as being denied claims, and I know you probably don't know this, right? It's not on the agenda?
Not the claim. It's not an agenda.
So we're gonna meet with him tomorrow.
Okay, well, my question was, Ms. Carrasco, as far as from your standpoint of view and if you look at the claims and all that, I'm assuming, do we have an insurance committee like we used to?
No, ma'am.
There is no longer an insurance committee. So it's basically you?
No, it's, basically, I think, finance is fully, there's Julie Uranga for benefits, and they meet on a regular basis with our consultant and with Edna. And again, if there's any issues that come up, like I said, I was not aware of the gentleman that spoke this afternoon, but we will, touch base with him tomorrow to
Sure.
try and help.
So the committee looks at the claims that are being presented?
Not
No?
necessarily, no. We don't look at the claims, but like I said, when there's issues with the claims costs go to the finance department. And so unless there's an issue, then we will look into it and follow up. And normally employees come and tell us when they're having a problem, and so then we intercede on their behalf, using our connections with Gallagher or directly with the Aetna representatives.
So basically the district committee is kind of to negotiate the prices? Is that what it is?
The committee is basically looking at what is in the best interest of the district overall. And this year, the committee, as you know it, that you knew it before, that committee was suspended. And so currently, the committee that reviewed the Aetna and that evaluated the RFPs was a committee of 3 administrators.
Can I ask why the other one, because the other one you had, campus representatives.
That's correct.
Why was it suspended?
Basically, given the financial situation that our healthcare budget was in the red, Ms. Pulley felt that it was better that it be looked at from a financial standpoint to try and get it back on track, and so that we could not, I guess, remedy the deficit that we had in the budget.
I wanted, it wasn't this point, it was me. Get the financial part straight, grossly in the red. So it came to more of a financial decision, not, just made that decision. I know this one gentleman, I haven't picked up. So I'm sure there's other claims or not claims across, so insurance is on the rise, but I don't want to say that this one gentleman's claim is not valid, so we're gonna look into it tomorrow.
And then the other question that I have, the contract that you have with that is for 1 year? And you look at it again, or no?
And that was gonna be my question. You go over the contract, it's usually a 3-year.
It is.
Yes, it is, we did enter in a 3-year contract. That does not mean that we don't have an opportunity to reevaluate terms. You're not necessarily opting for 3 years, but in order to get the best pricing, especially on the pharmacy side, we do look at it as a 1 year and a 3 year.
Through the chair.
I just have one last question. Is TRS care only for retirees? Or is it available, do you know, Ms. Carrasco, or is it available for teachers that are working, employees that are working in the district? Is it available for them as well? Okay.
Yes, and I think, when we were doing the RFP, we did put something out for TRS. And I know at the time it was evaluated and it would have been more expensive for the employee.
I just wanna make sure we stay on the items about the healthcare update.
Yes.
So I understand your question. Can you tell them we can fill it in?
Thank you, I appreciate it. It's just that I was not on board when you did all this, so that's why I'm trying to catch up with what you're telling me. Thank you.
So basically this evening, what we're looking at, our health plan straddles 2 fiscal years or 2 school years. And so right now during the budget season is when we look at the district contribution and look and see and evaluate to see if we need to increase it. At this point, through our consultant, the recommendation is to increase it from $623 to $723. And I believe, in talking to Ms. Pulley, she's taken that into consideration. And so at this point, we're looking only at the district contribution. In August, we'll be back. We'll have more time to see how the plan has worked out and to see if we need to increase the employee contribution. I'm hoping that's not the case, but we'll see based on how the plan performs. But right now, it's only the employer contribution that I am asking for your approval to increase that by $100.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Martinez.
Ms. Carrasco, Mr. Superintendent, what I recommend is that we look at the overall employee and district contribution, then come before us, then we'll make an educated decision if that will suit the board. Is that a possible thing to do?
No, that's not.
Okay.
Right now, you have the district contribution. You start that 1 July. Start that $100, and then August we look at the employee contribution, and that will start 1 January.
Because more than likely, I think we're gonna have an increase, both employee and district contribution. Now, obviously, we're going out 15% increase. That's what we're seeing right now. But there's a lot of information that is being presented before us. My opinion is, I'm not in a position to make a decision. I know that it's important. It's important to do this. If it was not important, we should have looked at this maybe 2 months ago. And I like to spend the time and understand, because this is a big expense for the district. And I know it's important for all the employees of the district. We need to make sure that all are satisfied with the insurance we have for all.
So I understand that, but we didn't have enough data to make a decision. And right now, the data that we have, trying to really increase our district contribution. So starting in July. So again, it's up to the board if you all want to pick right, not decide, but to my understanding, they won't have this opportunity until next July, right?
That's correct. And as I mentioned, Ms. Pulley has already taken that into account in her budget, hoping that we could get that increase. So that's already built into her budget. On top of that, I know that the state has provided some funding for our healthcare costs.
Yes, right.
Which is what I was gonna say, Mr. Martinez, through HB2, the state has allocated some type of help for the district contribution on healthcare. And so it was something that was presented last Thursday to us.
That's correct. And the number that we are being assisted by the state is how much? How many dollars per employee?
100, right? Isn't that what we were told, $100 per employee per month?
That's the recommendation that we're making, yes, but Ms. Pulley can answer that.
Good evening. So we are being provided about $106 per enrolled student. However, that allocation is to cover an increase in costs, inflation overall. It can be used for increases in healthcare, transportation, in basic inflation of supplies, anything like that.
So, just real quick, I mean, what the district is asking is for district contribution to increase so that way budgeted within the fiscal year, which is positive for our employees. If we delay this, then, I mean, if it's a net positive, the question is, when the other conversation comes around, that's when the board either decides, does the district want to contribute more, employee, or what that scenario looks like. But I think at this point, it's budgeted, it's good for the employees, it's to help relieve the special inflationary costs that we continue to see. I don't think that's.
So are we already on item B, where we're doing
It's
that?
just to help kind of, we can move over.
Well, because there's A and B
Yeah,
here.
that's more for the.
For the voting of the $100. Because it's already been allocated, given to us to help the employees. And then in August, we decide, okay, do we want to offset it or do we want to have the employees? I just want to say that, healthcare has been the downfall of probably 80% of the districts, in Texas. And it's not an easy decision to make, like you said, Mr. Martinez, but it's a decision that we need to make because I would rather pay for my insurance than not have a job, and we've been letting go of teachers. So we got to really look at that and think of how what a powerful statement that is. If I'm a teacher in the district, I'd rather pay a little bit for my health insurance and not have a job at all. So we need to be smart in this. We already have the money. It's a positive thing. We're helping the employees. And then in August, we could get a lot of information and bring the information. We'll have more information and make that decision.
Mr. Chair. So I just want to be clear because the report that we have in front of us does have an increase on the employee side, but that's not what we're voting on tonight. So, okay, that is correct. All right. In regard to the $100 increase, I know that House Bill 2 helped with that. Is the full $100 increase coming from those funds coming from House Bill 2 where we're not putting ourselves in a bigger deficit?
Not necessarily, so it's kind of blended in. When we budget at 100%. That we assume every employee that is a district employee will take the insurance, and we budget for the entire year. However, we also do an adjustment, a projection of who will not take the insurance because we have 200 of our employees drop off. That provided additional savings from the budget. So that calculated to about $1 million. From that $1 million, it will cost us about $500,000 in order to fund this extra $100 per enrolled employee. So it will still save the district about $500,000 and cost the district about $500,000.
And for those 200 employees approximately that dropped off, they cannot re-enroll until next fiscal year if they decided to?
No, so they could possibly re-enroll in January when we have, or actually October when we have open enrollment effective January.
Okay. And have we reached out in any way to those approximately 200 employees to find out why they left? Because I'm wondering if it's because of the coverage like the gentleman spoke about or things of that sort that we need to consider as a whole picture.
Well, remember that we've had a reduction in force 2 years in a row now, so our staff has become less. And on top of that, when we raised the rates last year, we had a lot of employees that migrated to a spouse's insurance or went out to the market.
And I do understand that, Ms. Carascon. I have a feeling a majority of the people who left that probably is the case. It was cheaper for them to go with their spouse, but I think it's important that we do make sure that that's the reason why, and we don't have employees who don't have insurance because they can't afford it. We need to see the whole picture. So I don't know if there's a way for us to send out a survey to our employees and ask them, did you choose to stay, did you leave, if you did leave, why did you leave? So that we have that full picture, so that we can make well-educated decisions up here, for next year. And then just to be clear, the 3-year contract started in January, correct? And so we have basically January until now data, so in August, we will have the data from January all the way through July?
Probably
June, okay. Because I was seeing that.
It's about a 2-month lag.
Okay, because I was seeing that they were increasing, so I know it did go up and kind of back down, but I think that'll give us a better picture of where we're at. All right, thank you.
So Ms. Barnes, are you requesting that, a survey go out to the employees?
Yes, ma'am.
For the record?
For administration, yes, please.
Thank you.
You know, it's ironic that the increase is about $100, and we're getting $100 house bill too. You know, it makes me wonder what we're working, you know? Instead of saving money, we're basically giving it away. As soon as we get it, we give it away to our employees.
I have to say that, this is a necessity in my opinion. We have to take care of our employees. We have to, take care of them so that they will continue working here with us, because we have excellent employees. And so we have to compensate them through pay raises, salary, and through healthcare. And if the state is helping us, then by God, let's take it. And I'd rather use it on the employees than on something.
And I tend to agree with Maldonado. The issue here is, it's a lot of information being presented before us to make a quick decision. But we're not talking pennies here, we're talking millions of dollars. And it's an issue every year, it's an issue trying to balance a budget every year, and it's a big expense for the district. And rightfully so, the employees of the district need medical services. We have the right to provide them services, that compensation. But when we're here making a decision within an hour, I don't think it's the right thing to do.
What I do, done with the healthcare update presentation, just need to, ready to do the.
Yeah, I'm ready to make a motion.
Is there any questions in regards to the report? If not, then I'll take this to the agenda.
Item 3B, discussion and possible action for approval of increased district health contribution per enrolled employee of $100 per month from 6/23 to 7/23. Presenter is Martha Carrasco.
Is there a motion?
I move that we, do the increase of $100 as a school district for our employees.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
There's a motion and a second. Adrian, can you call the board?
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Borrego?
Yes.
Ms. Maldonado?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortega?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 3C, discussion and possible action to approve the 2025-2026 compensation package. Presenter, Martha Carrasco.
Ready, Ms. Carrasco?
So, as we've heard, there's been a lot of talk about Governor Abbott signing the House Bill 2 into law, which is expected to take effect on July 2025. This bill mandates ongoing funding to increase pay for teachers and instructional support personnel. We have 2 pots of money that was provided to the districts. And one of them is the teacher retention allotment, which is referred to as a TRA, and the other is support staff retention allotment, which is SSRA. This CISD has revised our teacher pay scale to include classroom teachers only. All other positions that are considered non-classroom teachers have been moved from the teacher pay scale to the administrative professional pay scale. So therefore, we need to update our reporting procedures to comply. The teacher retention allotment currently, and Canutillo has an enrollment of 5,729 students. So we are eligible, the district is eligible for a $2,500 increase for those teachers that are from 3 to 4 years of experience. And $5,000 for those teachers that have 5 or more years. So this funding is exclusive. This funding is exclusive for those that are coded in PEIMS as 087. So basically, roles such as instructional coaches, librarians, counselors, nurses, and administrators are not included in this allotment, because teacher retention allotment is for classroom teachers. The support staff retention allotment, which is the SSRA, basically the districts receive $45 per student based on adjusted average daily attendance. For our district, it translates into $209,000. We're going to use that money to recommend at this point 1% general pay increase for those eligible employee roles that were discussed with the state guidelines. Eligible employees that we're recommending for the 1% increase would be the counselors, the librarians, and nurses. Also, we are recommending this to all of our hourly staff. So this would be the support staff that we have in our auxiliary, for example, our paraprofessionals, our custodial, our bus drivers. Everybody that is hourly will receive a 1% increase. Those that are not eligible for this allotment, as per the guidelines, is the superintendent, the assistant superintendents, roles that are equivalent in scope, campus administrators, centralized supervisory staff, district level supervisor, and directors. So, if you look at...
Ms. Carrasco, 1 minute. I apologize. I just want clarification. Go back one slide, Adrian, please. So this is not Canutillo's recommendation of who's eligible or who's ineligible. It is, I want to clarify, that it is part of this House bill, correct?
That's correct. It's part of the
We're
guidelines.
not saying, Canutillo's not saying, oh, the assistant superintendents, the principals, etc., are not eligible, are ineligible, correct?
Yes, they're not eligible for funding from these 2 pots of money that we've been allocated.
Okay.
They've given us strict guidelines as to how we can spend that money.
Okay,
And
I knew that. I just want the public to know that it's not us, because those people work really hard as well, and they, I was one of them. And the thing is, we can't penalize people for wanting to move up and do well and have such stressful jobs. But that's not us making that decision, it's the state, correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
I have one question, please, Jeff.
Go ahead.
So this $45 that we received, was it allocated for raises?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so we also need to make that known that it was specifically saying for all the others who do not fall under the category of 087 teachers, they have to be compensated as well, correct?
That's correct. The 1% is for support staff. So if we look at the pay scale, Adrian, so that's what our new pay scale for teachers looks like. What we did as part of that money from the support staff, we're going to use approximately $30,000 because we want to go ahead and increase, also give an increase to those teachers from 0 to 2 years. So the 0 teachers, we increased it by $500. The 1-year teachers, $1,000, and the 2-year teachers are going to be $1,250. And that's part of the funding that's going to come from there is going to come from that second pot of money that Yes, the 1%. Basically, what the state has said is, you can give raises, but not out of this pot of money if the district has the funding. And as you all know, because we've been dealing with a deficit budget, and we've been tasked by the board to bring in a balanced budget. Following my presentation, Ms. Cooley will bring that information to you to show you how you've accomplished the balanced budget. So basically, what we've done is that the information that I've provided, in talking to Ms. Cooley in finance, everyone on the administrative pay scale that we have here at Canapio, the 1% was not allocated for them. Everybody else, the hourly pay scales, all of those would be the 1%. With the exceptions of the ones that I did mention, which would be the counselors, the nurses, the librarians, we have accounted for the 1% for them. Any questions?
Go ahead.
So you mentioned that, like the speech pathologist, the nurses, the librarians, they're going, that 1%, you're going to put them, it's going to go to administration. You have mentioned that they were going to the next level, let's say, to administration?
The administrative pay scale.
Yes, administrative pay scale. Do you know an approximate about what that amounts to from where they were at? Because you're taking them up one level, aren't you? That's the way I understood it.
The 1% goes from the midpoint.
But at the administrator?
At the administrator, they end up being at the pay grade 3.
From a pay grade 2 that you were taking?
The nurses and I believe and the librarians, we had them on the teacher pay scale. Moving them off of that teacher pay scale and putting onto the administrative pay scale.
So what is the
would end
difference?
up being a pay grade 3.
A pay grade 3, but you don't know what the dollar amount difference would be?
Well, I mean,
Is it 1%? Is it?
the 1% off of midpoint, that would be added to an hourly rate or to a daily rate times the number of work days that they have.
Martha, what she's asking is that when you took them from the teacher pay scale and moved them to the administrator pay scale, did they get a raise by you didn't, you just reclassified them, correct?
They are within, their pay is within that range of the administrator 3.
Correct, so that's what she was asking is,
Yes.
in other words, you just reclassified those employees from teacher pay scale to administrator pay scale.
That's correct.
So they're not getting the raise, but they're getting the 1%, because you're saying that everybody else will get the 1%, and you had said in the slide before, eligible for the 1%, counselors, librarians, nurses, paraprofessionals, clerical, custodial, auxiliary, food service, bus drivers, hourly pay scales, instructional support, administrative support, auxiliary information, and technology.
Yes, hourly. The hourly pay scales are getting.
But the counselors and librarians,
Yes.
you're taking them from the teacher pay scale and you're moving them to administrative.
That's correct.
So, but they're not getting the 1%?
Yes, they are.
Because they're part of the provision.
Right, correct?
Yes.
Because they're part of the 1% provision, they're not an ineligible group, even though they're on the administrator pay scale. So the pay scale is very separate than correct? Very separate than what is eligible and what's ineligible. In other words, we moved them, or the district moved them from teacher pay scale to administrator pay scale, but that's just a scale that says what their pay is gonna be. It
Yes.
doesn't classify them as an administrator. What classifies them is the ineligible and the eligible. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But I just want to make sure that they too are getting the 1%.
The counselors, the librarians, yes.
Ms. the Chair, Ms. Carrasco, the formula is very clear on how some of these teachers are getting a raise. a speech pathologist, on average, how much of a raise are they getting? That 1% is more or less gives an idea.
Okay, so the speech pathologists, the OTs, PTs, SLPs, social workers, they were already on the administrative pay scale. So remember what I said, is that the people on the administrative pay scale were not getting an increase, because that was not in the allocation. There's not enough money on the district side to be able to give everyone a 1%. And I guess we could do it, but then the board would have to be okay with adopting a deficit budget.
So Adrian, can you please put the slide up again with eligible and ineligible? Maybe it's right there. There we go. So all those people under eligible in our district are going to get a 1% raise.
The hourlies, and then I wanted to separate out, you've got the counselors, the librarians, and the nurses. Of course, everything else here, paraprofessionals, clericals,
Those are all hourly.
just examples that I'm giving you, but basically, it covers all of our hourly staff.
Yeah, so all hourly staff in Guadalupe are going to get a 1%, and also the counselors, the librarians, and the nurses.
That's correct, and not the 1%, but out of that same bucket of money, we're gonna give the teachers that are 0, 1, and 2 years.
Correct, which I think is important for retention of our teachers. I think that's very fair. Okay.
So, to clarify again, ineligible are the administrative pay scale.
The administrators, yes, but because the district does not have enough funding to do a general pay increase of 1% across the board, then the administrative pay scale has been has not been taken into account.
Took that $45 and stretched it as much as we could in order to balance the budget to come to zero.
But I'm just questioning because ineligible, you've gotten listed, but you just stated that the speech pathologists are already in the administrative pay scale, so they're not even eligible for the 1%.
There's not enough funding.
No, I understand that.
Yes.
That was my question, is yes or no. And so they would fall under what? Centralized supervisory staff? The examples that you're giving there? Or they would just be, we have to understand, or we have to ask the question, where did the speech pathologists fall? So they fall under administrative pay scale.
That's correct.
So what is administration recommending? Can you just give it to us so we can vote?
Well, administration is recommending that we go ahead and approve the TRA, the HB2, which covers all the teachers, plus the 1% for the staff that we have talked about, which would be the counselors and nurses, librarians, and the hourly staff.
Basically, Trustee Moreno, if you just read 2025-26 compensation package as presented, and then that will cover it.
I just want to let the community know and employees that even though unfortunately the budget does not allow for us to give an increase to everyone like we would like, we have to also remember that there are 11 teachers that are out of a job last month, basically, on the decisions that we made. So it'll be in June. So I think to what witness Borrego said is that blessed to have a job versus, paying a little bit more in insurance. But in this case, blessed to have a job even though I'm not getting a pay raise. And that's not to say that this is how it's going to be year after year. God willing, it's not. But we have to also remember that 11 teachers did lose their jobs. Thank you.
Okay, I move that, we approve the 2025-26 compensation package that is being recommended by administration.
I was just, I'll get a motion in a second, but I wanted to make a comment. There's a second. I have a second.
I second.
And I guess the major thing, and we're gonna see more of this as the legislator continues to move this way, as the commissioner has pushed. TIO was the first instance of this, and what you're seeing is the legislator strapping our ability to use other funds in regards to how we spend that money. As we know, especially on the Senate side, the Senate automatically required this. This was, one of the biggest things that they wanted to do was figure out how they could do this in regards to not giving into the basic allotment and strapping our ability to sort of be able to take care of all of our employees. And so this is hopefully it's going to get better, but it might not in regards to the way the legislature will strap our hands. So this is something that we have to actually, this is what it is. It's sad that it is what it is, but the amount that they added to the basic allotment, inflationary costs, we're looking at a balanced budget, but next year, we're still gonna have to look at continuing to downsize certain areas in the district because what the budget's gonna look. So it's just, I wish we had more ability to help the rest of our employees. This is where we're at, and this is the way the legislators strap our hands.
Can I make a comment? I just want to comment on the fact that it's not all that. I think it's great news to be able to give our teachers the well-deserved increase in pay that they deserve. And I think it's a start that legislature is starting to give money to the public schools. It has been needed, and finally they're starting to work in that area. Yes, they have said, hey, we wanted to go to teachers and we wanted to go to support staff. Let's work with that, go from there, and come back in the future and make those adjustments as needed.
And on that note, it's reoccurring, correct?
The funding for the teachers, as far as what I've read.
As long as they have it, it's gonna be reoccurring
Yes.
year after year.
Yes, and
As long as they have
it can fluctuate up or down because they're gonna look at our PIMS report and we're gonna be funded based on the number of teachers on the PIMS report with their service years.
And I agree, we need to make sure we take care of our teachers because they're the front lines in the classroom, and I've always been an advocate in regards to that. I think once we start seeing the market studies and seeing where the market comes on the other, it's something that we're gonna have to continue to look at to make sure we're in the market. But I think it's important to notice that we're not even close to what the legislator should have provided. So we didn't get no funding 2 years ago, and it put us in the current position where it actually expanded, or not expanded, but it really compounded the current position. So even though that this is something, it's not enough for our employees.
We have a motion by Ms. Borrego and a second by Ms. Park. Roll call, please.
Ms. Marks?
Yes.
Ms. Borrego?
Yes.
Ms. Maldonado?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortega?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Item 3E, discussion and possible action regarding July 2025 special board meetings.
Let's get us figured out. Board, we're gonna have, we have some, special board meetings July set up. There's 3 items. There's a level 3 grievance hearing. Last time it was postponed. And then we have, guaranteed maximum price, the GMP, for 4 campuses that we need to bring. And then we have, 4 things in the board workshop. You have on your calendars right now for July. see what, the board workshop is about 3 hours?
So there's 3 meetings in July?
No, there's 4 items. that
Oh, I was
need
gonna
to be-
say, we need to,
No, there's 4
all right,
items. that
do a
need to
better
be
job
addressed.
with get by meeting here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Four items? Yes, level 3 grievance. A hearing. Guaranteed maximum prices, those 4 renovated, those campuses. And then, a workshop on team building. Now, I know the workshop on team building is a plus or minus 3 hours.
And what we're looking at in regards to possibly just do 2, one would be the board workshop, and then the other would be the GMP. It's a match, the 2 items that take them all under the GMP.
the team building, well, in yellow, except you. Sort of yellow, just kidding.
That has green.
It's yellow.
Is this local governance?
Yes. And that's
So you want to throw some dates that not
So,
available?
I think documents.
I will not be available on July 7th. I will not be available July 16th, 17th, or 18th. And I go back to work on the 28th. Which I can still do between the afternoon. 30th, sorry. 7, 16, 17, 18, and 30.
I am not available on July 23rd through the 31st.
I'm not available on the 11th.
On a Friday, you're safe.
That's my best.
Nobody's available on Fridays for a meeting.
I am.
Trustee Ortega?
I'm not available from the
25th through the 2nd.
It's basically all of July.
I mean, July 20, the last week.
Last week? No, I mean for the whole board, I'm looking at the whole.
What about the 8th?
The 9th, the 10th?
The question is,
Did you have one more board member? Martinez? Okay. Okay?
Whatever you guys decide. Can I propose when we were looking at, July the 8th as the team building workshop? Does that work for everybody? Probably we could make it earlier. 5 is fine, or.
Those that work, can you do earlier, like 4, or is that too hard for you all? Huh? How about you, Mr. Martinez, 4 o'clock, or is that too hard? 5? Really? Man.
Okay.
5 is good. We'll get Cindy to bring dinner.
The following week, the only availability that I have is the 17th, and the GMP has to be approved in that week.
I believe Mr. Blanco's available on the 15th.
Available that week.
The 17th. Well, the only thing is, I mean, we could have a meeting.
I think the 15th is the day that seems to be available for everybody.
So on the 8th, that we're all available, why can't we do the board workshop that day? So we can get it all done. I mean, no,
The
Yeah,
GMP,
GMP.
the GMP has to be approved after the 15th, right?
because if we could all be here, I think that's important. The team building, we could even possibly push it, we'll wear red and do it in August.
Well, we could just do 4, I mean, the GMP's guaranteed, while the hearings probably does.
But since we're all available on the 8th, I think we get the board business done.
From my understanding, the reason why we had, it had to be after the 15th, the GMP.
I don't think the GMP will be ready by the 8th. And we're looking towards the 15th, if not later.
So you said you go back to work after the 18th, is that correct?
The 28th.
I go back the 28th, so I can do the 28th, the 29th, the 31st, not the 30th.
You're out that time?
What about Monday the 21st?
I can.
Yeah. So you don't think the GMP could be ready by the 8th?
My understanding was they needed it after mid-July because of this purchasing or finance. Or where were we at on procurement?
They didn't give us a date, they just said in July.
July, it's not
They
July.
did not specifically say mid,
Yeah,
they just said July.
We're texting, calling. See when.
Okay, let's, everybody else wanna take out your calendars and help us out here?
See if we can figure this out. So you were saying we would be looking at doing the GMP and the level 3 grievance hearing all together in one meeting? Is that correct?
And we're gonna see if we can do it on the 8th?
I mean, technically, we still have to check the 8th with Cindy.
Yeah, the team of eight.
We have to check and make sure that works.
No, but if we change the board to the
Chair.
GMP and the grievance,
To the
the
chair,
8th works.
let's find a day that all of us can be there, because I know we tried the past 6 months and some of us have not shown up. So if we make a commitment, we decide a specific date, make a commitment, and all of us show up.
Is there any time at the beginning of August? I know we're only looking at July, but they said it would be ready in July. What about the first week of August?
With the GM.
For the other three? the
Would
G-
5th and 6th work? Because the other, we're gonna have to add another special board meeting, which would be the interviews of, the RFQs for, search firms.
The 5th and 6th of August?
5th and 6th work for
But,
everybody.
you know, when we're talking about the GMPs, this is about the work, that's going to be done at the elementary school
Correct.
starts. You're gonna have them working when school is in session. Ideally, this should have been done in the summer when there were no kids.
We should do July 8th if we can. If Presidio says we can do the 8th, we should do the 8th for that one. Have you heard from me?
I guess let's, move to the next item and then should we table it or?
We'll come back,
Do the 5th and 6th work for everybody
What?
as possible dates
Of August?
of August?
No, me, the 4th, yes, not the 5th. I could do the 4th and the 6th.
Is that for a team building?
No, for, in case we have to do the art.
well, I think the team building, if you look at the priority, I'm just saying the priority is gonna be GMP, and then we're on a timeline.
Yes.
Yeah, the GMP is a priority, but.
For the
they
hearing,
said
yes,
not
we're
to
gonna have to
advertise.
do it before, the 24th.
So
You want-
July 8th, like the.
So they wanna do the hearing July 8th, the level 3, and do the team building. And I'm waiting on, Studio to let me know if they can have July 8th. I know he's skeptical, but I'll firm it up.
The question right now is for the July meeting, the only day we have that we could all is July 8th.
Correct.
Okay. Now in August, if we have to push, because we're still gonna have to do interviews for search firms, of which would be a special board meeting. So the question is, do we have the 5th and 6th available?
Not the 5th, I could do the 4th and
The
the
4th.
6th.
Are you able to do 4th and 6th? You said?
What are you saying, for the team building?
I'm just saying
In
what
August?
dates are available in case we need to move or what. Right now, it's just.
I say right now, let's just work with July. And Dr. Galavis, you said that the hearing in level 3, so we could schedule that possibly July 8th? Yes? Since we're all in agreement that July 8th?
No, I'm sorry, Steve's not available that week.
He's available the week of the 15th.
The week of the 15th, I apologize.
So not the 8th?
Yeah, not the 8th. All right, Terry.
No, 14th.
What about the 16th? I'm available the 16th.
I'm available the 14th and the 15th of July.
How about we just get dates that are on July, the only date that we're all available is the 8th.
And the 14th and the 15th.
No,
I'm not the
no,
14th.
and I'm not either. So that's why I'm saying the only date we have available, I texted out, is July 8th for all of us to attend.
How about the 9th and the 10th
No,
and the 11th?
no.
I can the 9th and 10th.
So the question is, the 8th is everybody's able to attend. Now the first week of August, in case we need to go, you're saying the 4th and the 6th. Everybody okay with the 4th and the 6th, just to have,
4, 6, 7, just not 5.
okay.
I can't do it the 6th.
You cannot? What about the 4th, Monday the 4th?
Does 4th work for
Fourth
everybody?
yes, the 5th yes.
Okay. So what we have at the end, so what we have right now is July the 8th and August the 4th to work for. Those are the 2 dates. Now the question is the GMP, if it comes back and asks to be approved, because if we delay it, it's gonna mess with the construction schedule. The only date I'm available is the 17th, that Lily is out 16, 18.
I'm available the 17th.
We could also do a Zoom, and I could, okay then.
Nowhere where
No,
I
no,
can
no.
have internet.
No, what I'm saying is then I could do it on a different date and you just send it a meeting. If push comes to shove, but if we could do it on the 4th, then we'll. So let's
So
wait
you're
till,
saying the 15th? I could do it the 15th. July 15th, right? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, I'll be gone, but I'll be able to.
Zoom. And you said Mr. Blanco is available the 15th?
Yes.
So why don't we do the
Said that
hearing?
week he could be available.
Why don't we do the hearings the 15th then?
That won't be available. I mean, you can.
So you just said you could do it.
I thought we were gonna do it the 8th.
Move on.
Let's wait to see what Presidio says and then we'll go from there. So right now, what we do have is the 8th and the 4th available, July 8th and August the 4th. That'll take us to the next item.
Item number 4, public hearing. Item 4A, public hearing regarding the proposed 2025-2026 annual budget. The public is invited to attend and to provide public comment. Presenter, Mr. Cooley.
Good evening, Board. We're going to talk about the budget adoption, and presenting is the slides that are being presented are some of the same slides that you saw at our last budget workshop in May. So I'm just going to go through and to present to you the newer slides that have been updated. So if you could forward slide 11, which is it says FY26 proposed budget allocation by campus. That one. So this new allocation here shows the increases for salaries for teachers and the 1% that was discussed prior have been incorporated into this particular slide, and it shows the increases to the different campuses, which is updated from the previous information that you had been presented. And we also are going to go through some of the updates that House Bill and how it affects our budget and how it affects the district. So House Bill 2 has a new state funding requirement for public education. It was signed into law in July, and it provides the new allotments that we've talked about previously, the teacher allotment, support staff and compensation. The salaries are mandatory and they are recurring. They're not one-time payments. And it requires changes to the pay structures as has been presented by Human Resources. This allotment, the teacher retention allotment, is allowing for a $2,500 salary increase for teachers with 3 to 4 years experience, $5,000 for teachers with 5 or more years of experience. However, it only applies to classroom teachers that are coded to 087. This is specific in the language of the bill, and it was only for those particular positions. That means that not included in this allotment are instructional coaches, librarians, campus administrators, counselors, nurses, teachers that are not in the classroom. It only applies to the teachers that we just talked about that are coded to 087 or are teaching more than 4 hours per day. There is also an additional allotment for the support staff, which we talked about as well, which is the $45 per average attendance. Now, this fund, it can be used to increase the base pay for non-administrative staff. And as we talked before, this includes counselors, librarians, nurses, and all hourly support staff. And the ineligible staff is superintendent, assistant superintendent or equivalents, campus administrators, and centralized supervisory staff. The salary increases need to be for base pay. They cannot be given out as stipends. There isn't any flexibility to, like I mentioned before, to make these stipends or one-time payments. And TA has advised us that because we're still applying the law to our budgets, there could be amendments coming in the future, coming in July, August, as there's more clarity provided to the district. Now, one thing to consider is that although these are salary increases, part of this, the new allotments do not include funding for the associated fringes, which is like your Medicare, your TRS contributions, workers' comp. Those types of increases will also be at the cost of the district. So how does this affect our district? So our district was built, is being built on a conservative basis. And these are some of the numbers that we have come across that have been built into the funding formula. So one of the basic allotments, there was an increase of $55 to the basic allotment, and that equated to almost $300,000. We also have a little bit of funds that are coming through the small and mid-sized allotment. Special education, compensatory education allotment, the school safety allotment, our basic cost allotment, which is the one that we discussed previously during the insurance presentation, the teacher retention allotment, the support staff retention allotment, and also something to note is that in the previous presentation, we had, I had talked to you all about our district becoming a property-rich district, where we were gonna actually have to send money back to the state because we were collecting too much in property taxes. Because of an adjustment that is proposed, it's a constitutional amendment, however, not approved, but we're being asked to incorporate it because the likelihood of it not being approved is just not likely. To lower to increase the homestead exemption from $100,000 to $140,000. Because of this adjustment, we have actually fallen out of that recapture. So we're basically getting those funds back. So overall, we have an increase of about $3 million in additional funding for our district. But it's important to note that part of this $3 million is it's already earmarked for specific programs. So it's not like we can just take the $3 million and distribute it as we wish. The bulk of it, of course, is going to the teacher retention allotment, which is almost half of that, and as well as the fringes that are associated, and the rest is going to cover the $3 million deficit that we were already in. So this budget incorporates several assumptions. One was that the increase to the healthcare was going to be approved by the board, which was the increase of $100 per month per enrolled employee, going from $623 to $723, and also approval of the compensation plan as it was presented. So overall, we are projecting to have a balanced budget. This is a conservative budget. We do expect to have amendments, and hopefully they will be positive. I would rather err on the side of caution and bring back positive news in the future once we get a little bit more clarity on additional allotments, and hopefully our enrollment also we see significant increases in that as well. However, there's still work to be done. We will, based on our projections, we still will have only 54 days of fund balance. Our required Fund balance is 90 days by policy. Our minimum for our first is 60 days. So we still have work to be done. And as well, we have one-time revenues that are being budgeted in here, which is a projected sale of land for about $2 million. So we need to still work on our budget. We're still not where we need to be. This is like I mentioned before, this is still a very conservative budget. In addition,
Ms. Pudi.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
you said that this includes the sale of the land?
correct.
Thank you.
In addition to the adoption of the general fund, you will also be adopting our debt service fund. This is a self-sustaining fund, and this is what pays our bonds. This is basically the INS side of our property taxes. Our maximum fund balance in this particular fund is about $12.1 million, which is limited to our current year's debt service payments, as well as any fees that are incurred. Our projected fund balance is about 12.6, so our fund balance is doing very well in our debt service fund. The additional fund that you will be adopting tonight will also be our child nutrition. This fund, it runs it has a very healthy fund balance and has actually been on a spending plan because its fund balance has actually been above the excess amount. It is projected to be balanced and expected to end in 92 days of fund balance. The next slide will present the budget, how it is allocated by function. The board will be approving the budget at the function level, and it is presented for you here, our proposed budget in comparison with prior year's adopted budget. Any questions? And with that, we can also open it up for public comment.
So on the slide that says adopted budget assumptions, we're going back to the health insurance. So I had asked earlier whether or not the presentation included that $100 a month, and I know it didn't for that purpose, but in regard to this budget, it does include that. If we were to choose to not to do that increase, what dollar amount does that add up?
We would have about a surplus of about $500,000.
And so that, I'm assuming that 500,000 would then go make this a non-balanced budget.
It would be a surplus budget versus a deficit budget.
Okay, thank you.
That fund balance.
That'd be better than strictly deficit, so it's good.
Any other questions?
I just want to make a comment. I want to say thank you for all the hard work to all the administration, Dr. Galaviz, Ms. Pooley, everybody who came together. Because it's not easy. I think we're going to be the only school district in the region with a balanced budget. So congratulations are in order. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for, I know the decisions were very difficult to make.
Ms. Pulley, going back, I agree with the comment that was just made, gotta say that. But going back to the child nutrition fund, I see, so there's some like surplus, right? There's quite a bit of money.
Yes, so they are, so what happened is TDA, actually, this was a problem that was kind of seen across the state. The reimbursement rates for the child nutrition program were increased. So they were seeing, a lot of school districts were actually seeing a surplus above the allowed 90 days. And so we did receive comments from our auditors that we needed to lower that, and we were on a spending plan with TDA. However, TDA did see this and recognized this and has now increased the allowable amount to 120 days.
So let me propose this. I've heard from a lot of parents that they would like to have more wholesome, made from scratch meals for our students. I don't know if there's any way that we can look at that. I know that the gentleman that's in charge of the program, I believe his first name is Michael. And that's his last name. But maybe, make sure that this goes back to the children and that they are getting more fresh fruits, vegetables, that we're not using so much processed, foods for our kids. I know that that's one of the concerns that we do have in our district.
Yes.
So I'm going to connect this, talking about, so we want us to use the child nutrition fund to enhance the food quality if possible.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, so I actually had brought up that same comment during our meeting last week, Dr. Galvez, because I know when I used to work at the campuses, that was the same feedback that I got, not only from the students, but also from parents, that I think we actually have a lot of food waste because the students aren't eating as well as they could be if they enjoyed the food a little bit more. So if that's something that we can do, we would greatly appreciate it. So not everything is coming packaged in plastic.
And that was gonna be my comment. A lot of processed food that you can basically buy at a vending machine, lots of sugar, and we need to decrease that. I know that there are requirements that he has to follow, but if there's anything that he can do to make it better for the students and healthier, because they said it's healthy, but yet it's loaded with sugar. How's that healthy?
So with that extra money we have in the child nutrition, want to see how we can increase the quality of the food kids can eat. Now we're ready for motion.
I move. I don't know if you want to open it up for public comment.
I'm sorry, public comment.
It's open for public comment. Anybody from the public want to comment? Not, I believe I'll have to close it, and then I will take us to the next agenda.
Item 4B, discussion and possible action regarding the approval of the 2025-2026 annual budget, the Center Fiscal.
We now request for a motion to approve our proposed budget for adoption.
I move that we approve the 25-26 annual budget as presented by administration.
I second.
I did have a comment in regards to forecasting. I want to see on the next one 3 years out.
Yes.
Go ahead, Adrian.
Ms. Barnes.
Hold on real quick, I have a comment. Does that mean that we're approving to include the sale of the land as part of the budget? And is there a possibility that we can use some of that money that we originally purchased that land to be used as a, let me start over. It's my understanding that when we purchased that land, we bought it for a certain amount of money, correct? How much did we buy it for, Mr. Superintendent?
That's not on the agenda.
Okay. My concern is I would like, my opinion, it's just my opinion, for that portion that we purchased that land to be earmarked for future land development. And I know it's been possibly about 20-some years, 30 years since we purchased that land. I think it's time to create a fund for that, for us to purchase additional land for future facilities.
Can I ask a question? This comment?
But-
Please.
Well, just
Set up here with the budget.
So if we go with the opinion of Mr. Martinez, where he's saying, take that money from the sale of the land and put it aside for future land purchases, correct?
And I don't mean the full amount, Mr. Maldonado. I'm talking
Yes,
the
sir.
original purchase of that specific land, which is I believe it's a smaller amount. Dr. Rico, is that correct? How much did we purchase that land for?
again, it's
That's not on the agenda.
That's not.
Okay, so my question, Ms. Poole, is if we do that, then we don't balance the budget, correct?
Right, so the board has the authority to commit fund balance basically, for a certain purpose. So you can commit a certain portion of the sale to committed fund balance if the board so chooses. However, I think we had discussed this prior, and it would be about 2 days, more or less, of fund balance that would be removed from the available unassigned fund balance.
So instead of 54, it would be about 52 days of fund balance.
I believe it's at 52, so, or,
54, no.
was it? Yeah, I'm sorry.
So it would go down to 52, but we would still have a balanced budget with only 52 days in the fund balance.
Yeah, so we would take that revenue out, so we would have the deficit or
Okay,
whatever.
that was my question.
the
We would
board
have the
like to
deficit.
Designate, correct.
I think it's a good idea for the future. But right now, I think that the important thing is that we have to balance the budget, in my
The
opinion.
reality of things, to the board and the community, we have not been able to balance the budget. We've been selling land for the past many years with the intent to balance our budget. That is taxpayers' money. And when we went out for a bond initially, we told the community that we were gonna use that money specifically to build facilities. And here we are, spending money, and I understand, we have a deficit. But, you know, we could have looked back 5 years ago to look cutting some of these positions, some of these administration, you know, unthin as much as we can. That's just my opinion.
You have a second and a motion and a
In
second.
regards to, I think it's something we need to look at in the future, especially with others. But right now, I would recommend we approve the budget. So we do have a motion and a second.
Ms. Barnes?
Is there questions on the budget? If not, Adrian, pull the board.
Yes.
Ms. Moreno?
Yes.
Ms. Maldonado?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Definitely not.
Mrs. Ortega?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 5, consent agenda voting.
So, Mr.
Is
President,
there any items that need to be pulled?
yes, we have,
I believe Ms. Barnes had said.
5A6, program evaluation, 5C3.
Five, what?
5A6, program evaluation, and 5C3.
Those are Ms. Barnes's.
Yes.
Is there anybody else that wants to pull item?
We only got 2 questions. Prior.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of those 2 items?
I move that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of those 2 items that Dr. Calvis called out.
And I second the motion.
There's a motion and a second. Adrian, can you pull the board?
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Moreno?
Yes.
Ms. Maldonado?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortega?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 586, program evaluation.
Does anybody need a copy of our copy?
Ms. Barnes, do you have a question?
Yes, sorry, I'm running to that area.
Hello, how are you? So, my questions have to do with, I saw a lot of areas under the performance indicators where we had percentages ranging from 25% to 50% of people saying that they didn't use some of these programs. And we're still looking at recommending them for renewal. And I do agree with that recommendation, but what are we going to do to improve the usage of the monies that we're paying basically for these programs?
Was there one in particular, Ms. Barnes, that you?
There's quite a few. So we have attainment, I know it says that, sorry, let me look at all my earmarked ones. Discovery education streaming, which I know is great for science and social studies, things of that sort. That one's for a different reason. Those are 2. Sorry, it's a long report.
Ms. Barnes, may I?
Yes, please.
I don't know if you recall, Ms. Barnes, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, that this has come up before. And we talked about not telling you how to do your job or anything, just a recommendation. What are the classroom walkthroughs looking like? Principals, their number 1 job is instructional leader. And yes, I know, 'cause I've been there. There's a lot on their plate, but they need to be in those classrooms, and it's actually the building principal that's responsible to make sure that if we're paying money, that those programs are being used. So we need to create some kind of system, I think, where there's accountability. Because if we're not, what's the right word? If we're not have that expectation and verifying, then it's not gonna happen. I promise you.
So some of the others were Lexia, Lift, Springboard, Just to name a few, I can speak in regard to Lexia, because that was a program that I used, and I know it says here that this is for grades 6 through 12. Are we not doing Lexia with the younger grades anymore?
So we are, so primarily it was for the special education students, and we've expanded that to now serve our tier 2 and 3 students. So as a district, we've purchased that to be a supplemental program with our tier 1 instruction.
Okay. And then one of my big questions is in regard to TEAC's resource system. So I saw that 77.8% of our teachers participated and said that it was a valuable tool. And I know we have our cost-benefit analysis here that explains kind of why we're cutting it, but I'm really concerned with that because it's a great program. So can you explain why we're not renewing that?
So with the TEAC's resource, you know, they have their own year at a glance that we have to follow. With the new passage of high quality instructional material, we are now enforcing that teachers follow that scope and sequence. So the TEAC's resource does not align with the tier 1 instructional material that we have set forth: STEM scopes, Wonders, Maravillas, my perspectives. Now, we still have science that does use it because we just purchased Sabas, but it's expensive to purchase just for one content area. So Sabas comes with its own scope and sequence, so we've aligned and proposed what our district's year at a glance will look like for the subjects that the high quality instructional material has not been rolled out for yet.
Now, if I may, so I do understand that the scope and sequence is different. Are we not allowed to use the TEAC's resource system to use it in the other ways, like what needs to be taught, when should, not the when part, but how should it look, how do we get to that mastery level, because it helps with all of that. Certain questions look for, things of that sort. So can we not use it for those aspects?
So we want them to utilize what we've spent as the tier 1 instruction, and it comes with all that.
It does.
So then we're replicating, and then we're causing confusion, because although it covers 100% of the TEACs, it's not in the sequence that our adopted material is in. So then we're not creating that coherence, and now, you know, even just everything about the text that's being used with the tier 1 instruction, the tools that come with it. So we've spent our efforts in training not only the principals, but teachers on that material so they can see the benefits and become comfortable. So
you would say that the highly qualified curriculum that we have covers all the same things that TEAC's resource? Okay. And the training is being offered to be able to give the teachers who are still using TEAC's resource system to show them and empower them to be able to use their curriculum in the same way? Okay. That was my biggest concern.
I'm concerned. I'm concerned because I get what you're saying in theory. It's beautiful. And for a master teacher that's been doing it a long time, that knows that's going to work beautifully. But you know, and I know that 75% of the teachers, what are we going to do for an IFD? I mean, and for those of you, for IFD is instructional focus document, and I'm concerned for those teachers. We're abandoning very strong vessel, and I'm afraid that we might sink. That was probably the area where we were concerned, to be quite honest, was the IFB. But what these others had to offer outweighs that. And so there's going to be, you said there's training. We started already. Yeah. It takes a lot of training. It does. We can't even do walkthroughs to make sure we're using curriculum and instruction that we've purchased, because you're going to need a lot of work, supervision in the classroom. So we started actually this effort, this is our 3rd year. And so we created a tool that aligns with the RBs, the research-based instructional strategies, with a high-quality instructional material. As a matter of fact, Region 19 and one of our grant funders has shared that with the state of Texas, just so you know. So we did a walkthrough at every single campus just to calibrate that tool, receive feedback from the leaders, because they're the ones in the classrooms. They need to enforce it, just like you said. So that was our main goal. So it started, like this tool. We've now got it to a one-pager, easy, user-friendly, that serves the purpose of what you just said. Are they utilizing the Tier 1 instruction the way they should? And so we've come a long way, and it's just going to get better, because it does take time. So we held on to Teach Resource, even though we started this process, because we weren't ready yet to make that move. We're ready now.
Okay, and I trust, I know you know what you're doing, so we worked very closely together.
Good team.
I'm gonna be curious to see, how it all comes about.
And there's those teachers that feel like you just said, but then, we challenge them and let them tell us why what they're using is better. Because they do have a lot of knowledge.
And the principal's gonna be so critical in that piece.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So Dr. Arellano, one question is, every campus has a lead teacher? Or a instructional coach?
No, ma'am, only 2 elementaries, the 2 middle schools, and the high school.
So when the teachers need help or assistance for those campuses that don't have one, who do they go to?
So our coordinators are always available, and they do a lot of that. We have priority campuses that we work with. The main one we focused on was DBE this year. So, yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Maldonado, to speak to that, I can speak at least from my personal experience. When I came into Garcia, there were a lot of programs that I didn't use from Socorro, and Dr. Carrillo was very helpful in helping me to learn those programs and onboarding me and training me, even just as an individual person coming into the classroom. So they just have to reach out. We just have to make sure that teachers know if they're not comfortable with something, they need to reach out. That's
well, something that I'm going to add, now working for EPISD, is that kudos to Canutino. With the programs that we have and that we've used, that I've used in the past when I work here, does not compare. So I wish we had just a tidbit of what we have here over there. So kudos.
That was program evaluation.
Can I get a motion to approve?
I motion to approve. 5A6, the approval of program evaluation report 2025. Sorry about that.
I second.
Adrian, will you forward?
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Borrego?
Yes.
Ms. Maldonado?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez? Yes. Mrs. Ortega?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 5B3, discussion on possible action regarding revisions to the 2025-2026 temporary employment, non-contractual stipends, and supplemental pay schedule. Ms. Actor, Martha Carrasco.
Go ahead, Ms. Prince.
So my questions, and I did send them over. I did actually get an email tonight as I was sitting at the dais from Dr. Green with some of the answers. But my questions have to go in regard to the strong foundations. I saw that those were replaced with grant project managers for literacy and math. So I have a question. Dr. Ariano, were you the one who answered the, okay, thank you, sorry about that. So at the end it says, at this time there are no available grants for math, so no stipend will be awarded for math, but we have a $2,000 grant project manager.
I should have removed it.
Okay.
I left it on there because we're always applying for grants, but in hindsight, with your comment, we're not gonna use it, I'll just remove it. If we get one, we'll bring it back.
Okay, we'll bring it back for approval. So we would be looking at, for the pay schedule, then removing, just for all board members, the grant project manager for math for the 2,000. And then my other questions had to do with the national board certified, and Dr. Crane did send her information here, but honestly it still didn't answer my question. So I had asked basically why the secondary National Board Certified Coordinator stipend is more than the elementary. I was wondering, are there more National Board Certified teachers in secondary, and that's why their workload is more? Or
Yes, right, well, so currently, he oversees, so it has to be opposite of, from what I understand from Dr. Kearney. So if you are the, mentor, a secondary, certification, you mentor elementary and vice versa. Elementary, mentors the, secondary. And so, the one that oversees that has more work, because he oversees the entire program, and there's more teachers in that program that he has to work with.
In the secondary, there's more teachers for him to oversee than the elementary.
Whoever's receiving that stipend, I'm not sure.
And I don't need to know who it is, but that's the reason for the difference. Okay. That was it. Yes, those were my only two questions.
And we lead the region in NBC, just so you know.
Okay, perfect. Yes.
Market.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in TO, I believe we lead as well, correct?
And we're at 100. Well, Point is really close, but they started a year before we did.
Okay, perfect. Well, those were my only questions, so thank you for clarifying.
You make the motion.
Yes. Hold on, let me get back to my agenda.
You can so move on that.
I so move to pass the 2025-26 temporary employment non-contractual stipend and supplemental pay schedule.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second. Adrian, can you put it?
If I may, to clarify, with the removal of the grant project manager for math, as she specified. Well, that's what she stated, that it wasn't going to be.
Yeah, but.
Amend my motion, yes.
So a second, are you okay with amending?
Yes. Thank you.
I'll take this to the actual vote.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Moreno?
Yes.
Ms. Maldonado?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez? Yes. Mrs. Ortega?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Motion passes.
I'll take us to the next item.
That would be item 3B. The continuation of discussion of possible action regarding July 2025 special board meeting.
Let's not.
No, we'll just table that one.
Oh,
I should move to the next item.
so next item will be item number 8, meeting adjournment, time 8:21.
We'll talk to you all individually. Because, I mean, hypothetically, all I need are 4 trustees. So, and not to exclude, yeah, we'll do more discussions tomorrow morning, go individually. All right, happy 4th of July.
We do have the bill scheduled.
But we don't know for what yet.
Yeah.